What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So I'm sure you guys recognize her. If you don't, after you subscribe to the channel, go ahead and check out the video I did with her before. It was the first part of an interview of her experience in prison and like kind of what happened in the beginning of her life. So the last question we left it off with was, what was the craziest thing you saw in prison?
So, for when I was a YO, the craziest thing I would have to say was like a lock and a sock. It's a real thing.
Okay.
It's not just like a cliche. Like they're real. And on the other side of the second dorm, which you can see through the officer station, straight through into it, we heard it was going to go down. They were waiting for, because YOs have to get escorted everywhere they go on the compound as a group, so the guards go with them. They were waiting for them to step out. And as soon as they did, we were all looking across and we seen her just take her down. And it was like a bloodbath. It was crazy. It was literally crazy. You hear that when you're little, like locking a sock, don't drop the soap or whatever, and it's like a real thing. Yeah. So it was pretty bad. It was sad. I mean, it was scary kind of. Like, I mean, I was obviously not involved, but it was sad.
Yeah, and when you say that, I can relate, because when I first I saw it at the CFRC in the canteen line, and like, I don't mind getting into fights and getting dirty and all that shit, but when you see somebody just get boom with a lock and a sock and see their shit split open, like, you're like, damn.
Are they gonna live?
Yeah, like, that's some gangster ass shit.
Yeah, like, imagine getting hit with that while you're like asleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's scary.
So in that dorm is when you were still in the JIT dorm?
Yeah. That was before I had gone to confinement, and then I went to confinement after that, and then right when I got out of confinement, I got declassified.
Okay.
And went to
what does that mean?
That means I was no longer a YO. I was taken out of that program and put into the general population of prison. So with the majority of prisoners. It was like Christmas, honestly. Yeah. I was ready. They moved me up to the annex to the dorm I was going to there. I made a canteen list, because when I was a youthful offender, they're on limited canteen. You can only go at certain times, once a week. And
that's because people are robbing their shit, right?
Well, it's like part of your program. You have to earn everything. It's like boot camp. You have to earn everything you do as a YO. So it was part of that. So I was like making my canteen list, but then when I woke up the next morning, I was being woke up to be transferred to the Panhandle.
Oh, man, they've been hitting you hard, huh?
Yeah.
So and what camp did you end up going to then?
I went to Gadsden, which for females is the only private facility. Okay. Yeah.
So when you got there, like, what was that like compared to Lowell?
Well, compared to Lowell, it was like a college campus. So when I went to prison, my first sentence, Gadsden was run by a different company. Okay. And it was honestly a great prison to be at. I mean, when you got off the bus, there was like flowers everywhere on the compound, because they have a horticulture program. Oh, okay. So it looked like a college campus, honestly, and I was just like, oh, breath of fresh air. Yeah. Let's try this again. Can we start off real now? So it was. I was thankful to be there. It was far though. It's 5 hours from my parents.
So Vizos and all that.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Yeah. Okay. Which is decent considering where you're at.
Some people don't get any, so.
Sometimes these prisons can look real nice, but what's actually going on inside isn't always what it seems like. What did you think comparably to the officers that worked in Lowell to the officers that worked in Gadsden?
So there's definitely, in Lowell, there's more white. Okay. And I'd say like country. Okay. And then up in Gadsden, there was more black officers, and they were also country though. So it's a different environment. You have different groups of people. Yeah. I would say at Lowell the guards were very harsh. Yeah. Like they were like old school white country, and just they were really harsh.
Like,
and then
racist rednecks.
And they're employed by the state, by DOC. They're not employed by a private prison company. So I think their standards are a little different too. I mean, Gadsden, the guards there were shitty too. And you're always going to have ones that are corrupt, that bring the girls drugs, bring whatever you want in, have sex with inmates. I seen an inmate get pregnant.
By a guard?
Yeah.
So is that one of the craziest things you saw with a guard and inmate?
Yeah, that, and then bringing drugs in, and just, I've seen, like I told you, I've been picked up off my feet by them. I've seen them spray for unnecessary reasons, pepper spray for unnecessary reasons. But yeah, to me, you're there, when you're in prison, my life is now in your hands, and yes, I made the decision to commit the crime to be there, but I cannot do anything for myself. So in my eyes, whether it's consensual or not, it is taking advantage of a situation. Absolutely. Especially in a male on a female situation.
Yeah. So when that shit was going on, like, did all the other inmates know it was going on?
I mean, it's obviously the guards want to keep it quiet, but it's talked about because girls are catty. They want everybody to be jealous of them. Yeah, they want everybody to be jealous. They want to share what they got, and then it becomes a problem. And then obviously, if you're doing any significant amount of time, you're gonna get caught being pregnant.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you, I mean, really, she's not gonna be the one in trouble. He is. So she's gonna get her, their DOC pregnancy care, and then.
So so then that's what happens when a guard gets an inmate pregnant. They have an actual care program?
I mean, not a program, but it's like she's going to get the medical care she needs. She's not going to be in any trouble. Right, she's going to get the basic medical care she needs, and then he's going to be arrested and go to jail.
And that's what happened with that guard?
Yeah.
Damn. So did you see female guards hook up with female inmates?
I did, yes. As a matter of fact, that was in my second prison sentence, which was also at Gadsden. Okay. I did see that, and I believe they are still together. Damn. But they didn't get caught. The guard ended up just quitting.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't get caught. So.
Okay, which that happens too.
Yeah.
I mean, they say you can't help who you fall in love with.
And I will say there is one instance of a guard at Gadsden who fell for an inmate who was a friend of mine, and he ended up quitting as well. Okay. She went to Bradenton. He became her furlough sponsor. She and now she's been out for a few years now. They're married. They live great, and they do the right thing, and they live a good life, and they're very happy. So I will say that about that. But he decided to quit. Yeah, he decided as soon as it got serious, I'm just going to go ahead and quit because she's more important than this to me.
Right. So how long did you get on your first? This is your first prison bid we're talking about.
So I got 18 months prison, and then I got followed by 2 years probation. I got a split sentence on that one.
And you did the rest of your time at Gadsden?
Yep. I went to work release actually. I did go to work release. I got 4 months of work release, went and made a little bit of money. In that amount of time, you don't get to make a lot of money at work release. And I just came home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were at Gadsden, did you see the inmates getting into relationships?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like I told you, like I said in my first video, females tend to create families and relationships. I think it has to do with nurture, like how we have that nurture in us. Yeah. And so absolutely, when people would ask me about prison, like girls getting ready to go to prison, oh, what do I have to worry about with fights? Girlfriends and money. That's what girls fight about. Girlfriends and money. Right. So there's absolutely relationships. That's how people live, and they're together for years. And then people come home and they're together. Some don't make it that long. Some are only gay for while they're there.
Gay for the stay.
Some turn gay while they're there and come home and whatever. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of relationships.
So you get out, right? You go to work release. You save a little bit of money that you can. What was your mindset when you were getting ready to be released?
The first time I really didn't have any type of change. I kind of was just ready to come home, ready to see everybody. I missed the chaos. I missed all my friends. And I was, nothing really changed for me. It didn't really.
So you kind of got out and got sucked right back into
I immediately went back to my parents' house, which is in Pasco, where I'm from. Okay. And I immediately started using again.
All right, so why do you think that, because a lot of people that haven't been to prison or haven't done, sold drugs, did drugs, that whole thing, most people just think, well, I would go to prison and then I would get out and just change my life. But sometimes it's not that easy, and there's more depth to that answer. So if for anybody that doesn't know why you would go to prison and then get back out and do that, I mean, if you could just explain to them, how that all transpires.
Well, I mean, I think that sometimes that prison isn't enough. I think that just being away for a short period of time isn't enough. Nothing really significant in my life happened while I was away the first time. I didn't lose anybody really. Nobody passed away. I didn't miss any big events. It wasn't enough time for me to be put away. When I did my second sentence, things like that happened. Yeah. And I think that's what helped me open my eyes. I just wasn't ready. I didn't want to stop using. If I'm going to be 100% honest, I wasn't ready to stop using. So I used 2 days out, and I was rearrested 76 days later from my first prison sentence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you did the 18 months, then you were on felony probation, you got out, and you were only out of prison for 70-something days.
70-something days, and I was rearrested on 10 new felonies.
Damn, girl.
Yeah.
Damn. So you went to prison
That's
your first
fast.
time for 12 felonies.
Yeah, and then second time for 10 more.
On top of a VOP, which is a
Yes.
violation of probation, which adds points to your original charges.
Correct.
All right. So, damn, girl. All right.
Yeah.
So, and this was all due to drugs.
The drugs, yeah. Completely pain pills run my life when I'm using them.
Okay.
I will literally do pretty much anything to use when I'm using.
So take me through a little bit of your 12 felonies and what happened with that and like that whole, how that all came about.
So when I got released from prison the first time, my co-defendant that I committed the crimes with, he also had just been released. So we immediately got back together, started hanging out again. We were using. And he had been to prison prior to this 2 times for burglaries. Okay. What he would do is like cruise around and look for people's open garages, and he would like steal generators, air compressors, that type of thing. So that's what we started doing. You know, just and immediately right out, just take, you know, whatever you could get. I would stay in the car and he would run, but I would definitely open the back hatch. I definitely knew what was happening. Right, you know, I'm not going to try to downplay that at all. I would, you know, he'd go up in the garage and get it, you know, and he'd come running out with it. We'd throw it in the truck. We'd leave. We'd go pawn it.
So you guys got caught for doing all that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We he had stolen a generator, I believe, and somebody had reported it stolen. So when we took it to pawn it, I guess like the pawn shop guy called the cops. So then we took off to leave, and I actually called Tommy. Because I was so scared, because I was like, oh my God, they are going to know it's me. I was trying to pawn it. I already gave the guy my ID. I'm on probation.
You knew it was a
So I knew I was like screwed. So I called Tommy and I was like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? Do I go back to the pawn shop? Do I run? What do I do? And he said to me, this is what's going to happen. Either you go to the pawn shop and turn yourself back in.
Or you just
or they're going to go to your mom's house. He said, that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to your mom's house. And I had just gotten out of prison. I didn't want to
bring that
So I literally, Tommy's like, come meet me. And he took me back.
To the pawn shop?
Yeah. He took me. He drove me back.
So what happened when you went in?
I talked to the cop, and he, you know, he played the, oh, you're probably not going to go to jail. He asked me about things. I told the truth a little bit, lied a little bit. I said I didn't know where my co-defendant was because they hadn't found him by then. Okay. You know, so I said I don't know where he went.
They were looking for him,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah. They were looking for him because the car we were in was also stolen. Okay. So they were looking for him, so I said I don't know where he is. So I went to jail. You know, they arrested me for a few burglaries, a few dealing in stolen properties, my violation. And then they made a post online, if you have had anything stolen from your garage recently, please contact the Pasco Sheriff's Office. And I had got another charge or 2 from that. Somebody had reported. So, and then I had gotten 1 charge in Pinellas because I pawned something down in Pinellas County as well.
Okay. So, all right. I know for me, when I went to prison my first time and then I got out, and eventually I went back a second time. And, you know, when I got arrested, after I was already been to prison and I went back into county jail facing prison again, like, man, I was just like so depressed.
Defeated.
Yes.
Just defeated.
Yeah. And that's when I realized in my head, like, you cannot win in this kind of life. Like, there's no way you're gonna win. You can't, there's no 401k plans for drug dealers. You always get caught anyway selling drugs. And then just the addiction of all of it was like, I just felt like, damn, like I cannot believe that I'm here again.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, you know you're going to prison. You've already been once. And I had 10 more felonies, so I knew I was going to go back. I didn't know how long. Yeah. I wasn't really aware of what's called a Prison Release Reoffender Act either, which I fell under.
Okay, so just real quick so they know what that is. I've talked about it in other episodes, but if you haven't seen those, go check them out. But just real quick, the PRR is a Pre-Release Reoffender Act, meaning there are certain charges that if you get those charges within 3 years of being released from prison, you fall under PRR. And that means if you get a second-degree felony that's on that list, they can give you 15 years, day for day, no gain time. Mm-hmm. Same thing with first-degree felonies. I mean, if you do anything first, you're probably going to get life. That's just as simple as It is really. So those were 3rd-degree felonies and 2nd-degree felonies.
Yeah, at the time I had burglary of unoccupied dwelling, but at that time they were still a violent crime. They no longer are violent crimes, but at that time they were a violent crime, and it fell me under PRR. So my first offer was 15 years.
Damn, what was going through your head?
It was unbelievable. It was I don't even think I had a thought. That's
like
how
it
was such a shock that is actually my option here. Like, not for nothing, I obviously have a drug problem.
Right.
I mean, I didn't get any offer of help the first time, you know, and then I get out and I was only out barely over 2 months, and I committed all these crimes for drugs, and then now we're just going to 15 years again. It was really hard, you know, and then again I had to call my family and tell them, and I felt like, okay, there's no way they're going to give me 15 years, but I knew I was going to be a fight. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a fight. So,
I had the same thing happen to me.
And what's half of 15? That's still 7.5. Even if they cut it in half for me, I was still looking at, 7.5, you know?
It's a dime piece right there.
It's a long time, you know?
So, all right, so they offer you 15 years. They freak you out. They do all that. What did they end up coming off of the 15 years for? Or did you get the 15 years?
Yeah, no. I ended up getting a 5-year sentence.
Okay.
I used my downward departure because when my lawyer got my discovery, which is all the evidence in your case that both sides have, the witnesses stated that I stayed in the vehicle the whole time. So for a downward departure, which means the state can sentence you under your minimum guidelines, a guideline for that is if you're a minimal participant in the activity. Okay. And since a witness said that I stayed in the vehicle, the state allowed me to use that as a downward departure. Man. But you are only allowed to use a downward departure one time in your life.
Vehicle.
Yeah.
You stay in that vehicle.
Yeah. So it took me 15 months. I sat in Pasco County Jail for 15 months, and then I was sentenced to 5 years.
Okay. So you go to court, you get the 5 years. Obviously, you know where you're going this time. Mm-hmm. Did you go back to the same prison you went to your first time?
For my main sentence, I did. I got what we call as teamed out, which is where you go to your main camp where you're going to do most of your time. Okay. I did go back to Gadsden, but they had built a new reception center for women.
Okay.
And they had just opened it 3 weeks before I got transferred. So again, I did not get to see any of my friends because they were at the other reception center.
Oh, okay.
So I was one of the first groups to go to the new prison, which was okay because it was very clean.
Yeah, that was at least they brought you to the new one.
Yeah, it was very clean. We were like the first group in there. You know, obviously canteen was stocked. You know what I'm saying? So it was okay. But
canteen game serious, huh?
Yeah, for real. I mean, it was a little easier to deal with that time. Like I said, they had offered me 15 years by the time I got 5. I was thankful, but I was still like 5 years. A lot can happen in 5 years. Yeah.
So were your parents still riding out with you during the second bid?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So they'd been there.
My dad had gone through. My family's been with me 100% the whole time. They have never turned me away. They don't enable. You know, my mom and dad were. I won't say the only way they enabled me was because they allowed me to live at home while I used, but I was a teenager. What were they, I was a teenager. What were they going to do? Throw me on the street,
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, they never did that, and I'm so thankful for that. So they did ride out with me. They were devastated by 5 years, but obviously like that, they had come to the terms with it because we had been offered 15. Yeah. They say you don't do your time alone, and after doing my 5 years, I truly believe that. Now when I sit back and think about it, I can't imagine the pain my mom and dad felt.
Yeah.
For that. But my dad did go through cancer. He went through chemo when I was in prison getting ready to get sentenced.
So that had to weigh on your heart, right?
Yeah, he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he went through a round of chemo, which he did beat. But when the first time I seen him in prison, my second time, he had lost so much weight, it was devastating.
Yeah,
that's one of those things that makes you sit back and think.
Like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same thing with my grandma, so I know exactly how you felt on both things, the 15 years and that going through that. So just right now, like, how was your first bid compared to what your second bid is like?
Well, my first bid was so short compared to my second one that, prisons offer different programs. You have cosmetology, you have horticulture, you have HVAC, you have all different type of vocational classes. But if you don't have a significant amount of time, you cannot get into these classes. Because for one, they're at least 6 months long. And then for two, there's a waiting list. So the first time I didn't get any type of extra education. I kind of just sat around, didn't really do nothing. And now I have a 5-year sentence. So now I got to make a plan of how I'm going to do my 5 years. You know, that's how it was different because I had time this time. You know, I wasn't coming home next year. My date was a few years out.
I gotcha. So when you say, I mean, I've heard you say a couple times, like, you know, I just wanted to go with my friends or be with my friends. Now, you're speaking about people that you know from the street.
Both. I would say from county jail and from the street. Because obviously in your county jail, you see people you know from the streets. You know, they're people you run with, you grew up with, different circles, yada, yada, yada. And then you meet people in jail. Especially I did 15 months in county jail.
Yeah,
I formed a lot of strong relationships, in jail. So, you know, I wanted to see them. They were already up there. I wanted to see them. You know, it's already uncomfortable to go to prison. You're out of your comfort zone. You're exposed. Yeah. You're, you know, like I said, in somebody else's hands, pretty much helpless. You want to be with something you know.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So, all right. So you said before, like, girls are nurturers and the guards with the inmates being in a relationship. So did you have, like, somebody that you got connected with when you were in prison?
When I was in prison, I definitely did. I also did in county jail. There was only 2 different exceptions. In prison, I had really close family and friends. I got a girlfriend when I was in pre-work release.
Okay.
And we were super close, and we had a lot of fun together. She was my girlfriend. You know, we cared about each other. We were making plans. Things didn't work out, but we're still really, really good friends. We still see each other now.
Yeah.
I see her family and her kids, and I would do
anything
for her.
Like you guys were sleeping together and all that.
So yeah, of course. So like that's not allowed, you know. And we were in pre-work release, which is like, you know, we'll get to it some other story. But things are different. You have a little bit more freedom there.
Right.
So she was in another dorm than me, so we would have to sneak around and hang out. And then, you know, pre-work release is kind of like a rehab, so you're like under everybody's scrutiny, you know. Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely like that. But when I was there, you know, a lot of people had girlfriends, you know, so.
So would you say, like, to the average girl that goes to prison, like, what are the chances of her having a relationship with another chick when she's in there?
I mean, it's
From
super.
What you saw.
I would say it's super high. Like I said, we just want to be loved. You know, women just want to be loved. You know, and I mean, I speak for myself, but I have a lot of close friends, and we talk a lot, and women just want to be loved. So it happens a lot, and people, you know, go in and say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like gay for this day." But people find themselves in prison, so it could have been something that you've been, you know, harboring your whole life, and now it's bringing out, or it's just something to help you get by your time, and that's okay too. You know. You know, you got to do what you got to do. But I've seen a lot of people do. And like I said, a lot of them come home that way. I have many friends who formed relationships in prison, and they are going strong out here. So, you know, but it does happen a lot. And then, they love it. Yeah, you know, people want attention. They want to feel loved. You have what's called studs, you know, which are lesbians who, you know, genuinely look like a boy, which is fine, you know, but they get a lot of attention in prison. Right, you know, they'll have people swarm them, and they pretty much can be taken care of in prison.
So they don't even need money, and just because they resemble what a boy or a man
I mean, as long as you're not a piece of shit scumbag, you know, treating everybody like shit straight up. I mean, you're gonna have girls coming to you wanting to take care of you, feed you every night, make phone calls for you, make your bed, iron your clothes. You know, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's like a whole life. You know, you build a life there. So.
Did you see any like violence go on your second bid or?
I mean, I did. I was at Gaston, which at Gaston you have to have 15 years or less left on your sentence to be there.
To even be there.
Now, you can be doing a 30-year sentence, but you have to be under 15 years left to be there. So it's almost like a privilege. It has gotten really bad compared to what it used to be.
Right.
You know, because everything, when cuts happen, you know, it's always prisons first. Prisons and schools first. That's where they budget cut, you know? Yeah. So it got really bad, but... you know, it's your standard fights for sure. Like I said, girls and money. You know, you borrow money, you don't pay it back, they're going to fight you over it.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah, well,
you know, you mess with somebody's girlfriend, you're going to get into a fight over it. You know, girlfriends get in fights and go to the box.
Did anyone ever mess with your girl?
Not while I was with her.
Okay.
But then when we kind of like whatever, she got with somebody else, and then I was jealous, but I had already gone to work release. It was a whole drama scenario. But like I said, I love her still to this day.
Yeah.
I love her still to this day. She might come on here one time.
Yeah, yeah, come on the show. All right, say a girl that's never been to prison, right? She got arrested one time, or for something stupid, but if she got time behind it.
Okay.
And she comes into prison. Did you see other inmates that have already had been in the system and know it try to like put down on them and take their stuff or finesse them?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
They're always you're always gonna, if you're perceived weak, you're gonna be taken advantage of, especially in an environment like that. It's just like animals in the wild. If you're a weak wolf, you're gonna be left. Yeah. So, of course, they're going to try you. They'll take stuff from you. They'll pretend to be your friends. Oh, I can do this for you. I'll get you this and this. And then they just don't do it for you because they know you're not going to. But, yeah, I've definitely seen people's stuff just taken straight from them.
Just go up and take their shit.
Just go up and take it.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you going to do about it? And they're not going to. Some people are not going to, and they know that. But they don't care if you do. Because if you do try to step to them, they have their whole dorm behind them. They've been here.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then what else are you going to do? Go tell the guard? Yeah, right. We don't do that. Yeah. You don't do that.
So is that, when you say the dorm behind you, that's the family unity thing you're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so when I was doing my 5 years, like I said, I was there for a while. So we spent a lot of holidays together. I had a larger family, I had my best friend, Lo, she had her mom, who I used to call my aunt. Okay. So Lo was my sister. And then we had Jessica, who was just on here. She was kind of like our cousin. She always ate with us, you know what I mean? And then I had my prison mom, Kim, and we just all ate. And if something happened, but then they had their friends that they hung out with, like our prison mom's friends. Yeah. So if something happened, their friends everybody was behind us.
So the older you are as a female in prison, you are like considered the hierarchy.
Oh, well, yeah, in a family. Yeah, you're always going to be the mom, the aunt, the grandma. They have brothers. Studs are considered brothers.
That's great.
It is, but it really is. They will do whatever for you. We have dinner every night.
So you all just eat together with like commissary and shit?
Yeah, so me and my friend, her prison mom and my prison mom would cook, and then me and my friend would have to do dishes.
Oh, okay. So it's like a damn household in
there. It is. Because at Gadsden we had privileges. We had microwaves.
All right. So when you were at your second bid and you were getting close to coming home, like we talked about what your mindset was the first time when you got out. It really was just the same as it was when you went in.
Yeah.
When on your second bid did you start feeling like in your heart that like, man, when I want to start doing the right thing?
So when I was during my second prison sentence, my brother, I have one sibling who is an older brother, he got married. And the girl he got married to, he'd been with for like 12 years. And so that was kind of hard for me because he's my only sibling. I didn't get to attend his wedding. I absolutely adore my sister-in-law. So that was hard. So I'll say it gave me a little bit then. But really where I decided like I can't do this anymore, I want to do the right thing, is when I got to pre-work release.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for people that don't know that are watching this, they have work release in Florida. And you basically leave your actual prison and you go to like, it could be an old motel they turned into work release. And that's where you get a room, you get a job, and then you go out to work each day, and then you pay them rent to stay there. But at the same time, you can stack money.
Yeah, so even though you have to pay them when you're incarcerated for staying there, either way you look at it, you're still saving money to be released. So you're still making more than when you were in prison. But in the second time I went to prison, I had to go to pre-work release before work release, which pre-work release is pretty much a drug rehabilitation program. Okay. It's formulated just like a drug rehab. It is... we were in classes all day. We did groups. Okay. We had a set schedule. We had, we did, some type of recovery meeting of our choice that we were mandated to go to.
So it was at this point you really started to work on...
That place saved my life.
The thing that got you to prison.
Yes. Yep. That place saved my life. I will say that place saved my life.
So that's when, after going through the classes and everything, you were just like, I want
We
to
had,
change.
you know, like I forget how they refer to it, like what it's called, but it's called, the way the program is run is where we run ourselves. Like we kind of govern
so
ourselves.
Like a community.
Yes, like we were referred to as sisters.
Okay.
You know, we were a community of sisters. We wrote each other up for stuff we did wrong. You know, obviously there's still staff there. You know, we're inmates. We're not allowed to leave, but there's more privilege, and they kind of let you find yourself and figure it out. The counselors at the time were absolutely amazing. They didn't push you. They didn't try to, well, why are you doing it this way, or that's wrong, or this. They really helped us figure it out, man. And it was a great place. I met a lot of good people there. I still am friends with them. You know, it was a hard program, though. I mean, I lost my cigarette privileges for 45 days for selling a cigarette to somebody. You know, like that. You know, so there's petty things like that made you want to just say, fuck it. But I almost didn't go to that program, actually. I almost turned it down. And my friend's prison mom, the one I refer to as my aunt, is the one who was like, why would you turn that down? And I was like, because I just feel like I'm going to get in trouble. They're going to send me back. And she's like, but that's the worst that's going to happen. You're just going to come back to the shithole you were just
back
at.
To prison.
Back to prison. She's like, that's the worst thing that could happen. You know, that's the worst that could happen. So I ended up signing for it, and I went. And I am thankful every day for it.
That's awesome. Do you feel like, I mean, for me, I always feel like people are put in your life for a reason. And obviously that lady that said, yo, tighten up